What's going on, everybody? This is your boy Chuck, and you're listening to the ITXP. Here we are again. It's been a long time, maybe about 7 months. And I'll be honest, I wasn't sure if I was going to get back to keeping this thing going. With everything life gets in the way, family, work, meeting new people, having new relationships, trying to balance it all out. And somewhere in the mix, the podcast just paused. It really did. It just paused. The start of the year, I had this vision. I had this roadmap. I was going to do live broadcasts, maybe build a new audience by going live, interacting in real time. I did some of that. It was fun, but it was also a grind. When you got a full-time job in IT plus a family at home, carving out consistent live shots is tough. It's challenging. And on top of that, I learned a hard truth. Live shows aren't just about showing up. They demand constant engagement, visual presence, and energy. People expecting entertainment, not just insight. And honestly, that just wasn't sustainable for me. So after experimenting, I made a decision. The ITXP is going back to basics, back to where it all started in 2015. 2015. Audio only, my friends. Audio only. No camera, no visuals, no production setup, just my voice, my thoughts, and the reality of working in IT. Because the whole point of the show was never about flashy production. It was about truth. And audio lets you consume it while you're driving, commuting, fixing a server, or maybe even sitting through yet another pointless meeting. How many of those do we go through? That's where we're headed again. Going back to 2015. So if there's ever a need for video in the future, I'll do it. But for now, this is where I'm most comfortable. And I think it's where you'll get the most value. Now, I've always said I've had a face for radio, and this is me going back to that. I just felt like I couldn't sustain the live video broadcasts. Putting together and stuff, I just couldn't do it. And also, it wasn't my authentic self. It truly wasn't. It wasn't me. I was trying to be somebody I'm not, and this is who I am. Audio is spitting out my thoughts around the state of IT and some insights and observations. And it really started with consistency. And what I did was I let the noise get the better part of me. Oh, I need to grow an audience. I need to do this. I need to do that. I have to post every single day. I have to be consistent. And the problem with doing all that, trying to be consistent, made me even less consistent. Because you're always trying to keep up. You're always trying to do one more better than the next person. Well, because the podcast game is saturated. There's like 10 billion podcasts. I don't even know at this point. I don't look at the statistics. So forgetting to be my authentic self really limited my ability to provide content on a consistent basis. So we're going back to basics. We're going to do audio only from this point forward. Excuse me. I think that's what I'm going to do also is I'm going to reevaluate some of the episodes I did during the video and make them audio only as well to try to build that audience again from an audio only perspective. Look, video has its niche. It has its purpose. It's just not my purpose, right? So if you're still here, if you still download this and you're like, holy shit, the show's still on? Yeah, it's still on. I'm still here and I'll talk you through some of the things I've been working on in the interim. But I'm going to go back where we are in the state of IT. A lot has changed over the past 10 years. Shit, 10 years, 11 seasons. Why I say 11 seasons is because I started season 1 in 2015. So this is season 11. So 10 years, 11 seasons. So with that being said, let's hop right into it. I want to talk about the state of the IT job market in 2025. It's currently October 14th, 2025. A lot of stuff is going on in the world. A lot of stuff is going on. There's been a lot of things in the news, whether you agree with the current political landscape in the United States or not. It's really impacting the state of IT. It really has. And it's one of those things where if you listen to the noise, you're going to get freaked the fuck out. Plain and simple. You're going to get freaked the fuck out and you're going to just say, fuck it all. Why the hell am I going to stay in IT? So that's where you have to kind of just put the noise aside. Yes, look, there are a lot of layoffs going on. AI's everywhere. And I'll talk about some of the stuff that I'm working on in AI in my own organization. And there's this constant worry that at some point you'll be next, or even me, right? I'll be next. I tell this to my friends all the time. At some point, I'm going to be on a list somewhere and I'll be out of a job. So right now, the economy's wobbly. There's no clear vision from leadership at the national level. All that stuff is impacting us. There was an announcement like a few weeks ago that H-1B visas are going to be capped, or the cost for H-1B visas are going to go up to $100,000 and things like that. So that really scared a lot of people. Really, really scared a lot of people. But what I say there's a change in the way things are going. And it also probably is time for opportunity, right? Time to reevaluate where you are in the current landscape of IT. And just recently, I faced a restructuring within my organization in where I now have directory services under my ownership again, or my scope of responsibility. Let's put it that way. I have a bigger team of folks that really come from different backgrounds. And I'm talking to these folks, and a lot of them are like, well, we still do things with PowerShell scripts and things like that. Well, look, nothing wrong with PowerShell scripts, right? But there's no structure, there's no plan or roadmap for some of the things that are doing. And if I've learned anything over the past 3 years in my capacity as a cloud engineering manager, I've learned that without proper planning and proper structure, you're just going to keep running things in circles, right? So I jumped into this group. Well, not jumped into it. I was thrust upon some new members of the team who really have had no vision. And I met with them today and I said, look, I'm going to guide you on the roadmap that you're going to need to develop a better and more efficient system on doing domain controller deployments, doing your automations and things like that. So there's things going to be like, well, Terraform, GitHub Actions, Ansible, and things like that. So there's new technologies that you probably haven't heard of or used because they're not new. They've been around for a while, but in this capacity, you haven't been able to leverage those skill sets, right? So that's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm going to start working with the team and things like that. But going back to the whole job market, and you're like, well, everything's being outsourced. Maybe not to India, maybe somewhere else. My point is, you're gonna have to find another niche, right? And this has really been the core message of my entire show: is finding another niche, a skill set, some value that you can bring to an organization, so that way you don't have to be outsourced. Is it going to be 100% effective all the time? No, it's not. But you can't sit there with this mentality like, I'm never going to get a job because all those jobs are going to India, Costa Rica, Vietnam, Lithuania, wherever. And yeah, there's really smart people out there and they're cheap. I was looking up, because I'm a manager and I need to look up a salary. And I compared this position's salary to one in the US, and it was literally half. But the person in that current role in India works his ass off. But for half the price, I can get that same amount of work or maybe even double that work. Right? And sometimes this dude works way too much. And I tell him that. I was like, stop, relax. Take it back a notch. Right? And my point isn't that, people are cheaper. It's, from a business standpoint, yeah, I get it. Why won't I hire two people for the price of one? It makes sense. Until that region says, hey, we are doing more work than you guys are, so we want more money. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but it may happen at some point. But right now, what I see from not everybody, right, from certain regions, is the quality of the work is going to suffer until you find that right person. The quality of the work is going to suffer, and most of you have seen that. But fortunately for me, I've been able to inherit a lot of these folks and continue to build their skill sets, and my team has grown. We kind of split off into operations and engineering architecture. So as I stated before, I'm fully engineering architecture. I don't do operations much anymore. I'm having folks transition from an ops mindset to an engineering mindset. As a manager, I've evolved over the course of time. I send out weekly newsletters, highlighting some wins for the week, providing some insights into future things that we need to work on, providing the team allowing the team to provide their feedback on what we do in terms of from a strategy perspective. And I really want to ensure that the team truly transitions from that reactive mindset to proactive, which is what really engineering is really supposed to be about. Building solutions, partnering with the business, executing on things that come up, and seeing how we can make things better. Right? We're not the firefighters; we're the fire preventers. And some of those folks have really grabbed onto that. Into that concept. Obviously, some folks are going to be resistant because they're used to doing certain things. But I'm going to drag you kicking and screaming, whether you like it or not. All right. So don't worry about the offshoring aspect of things, right? And again, I'll point to my organization, right? If I take a step back, right, an American corporation has 700 people out in India that they have to onshore, right, as part of this HV1 thing. It's going to be double, triple, sometimes 4 times the rate. And then most people are like, well, Chuck, I could use AI. He's like, you can, but AI's not there yet. It's not there yet. So, people have to figure out how to position themselves to continue making money for the business, because at the end of the day, the purpose of a business is to make money. I repeat that time and time again. The purpose of a business is about making money. Right? So onshoring people is probably not going to be the case. And, we'll see. I think the tactic from our current administration is to leverage it, is to hold leverage on the Indian government. But we'll see. We'll see. So layoffs are here across the country past couple years, restructuring after restructuring. People have been in places, for years, decades. They're building careers, and then they get let go. They're sending out resumes to black boxes. We all know the resume game. You submit a resume online, does it go anywhere? And it's really, really concerning for those, especially of us that are older, to figure it out and how to move forward. And then we think about the 500-pound gorilla in the room, fucking AI. Every CEO, CTO, CIO is talking about it. They're like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Don't get me wrong. I love AI. I love it. I use it today. It's super powerful. I actually tried using it for this podcast, but it just didn't sound the way I wanted it to sound because it's not my authentic self. People are rolling it out, and it feels less like an opportunity, but more like a threat, right? Every single job within the company is being looked at, scrutinized, being put under a microscope of AI. I was on a call last week for an architecture review board, and somebody said, we may not need this architectural review board anymore. I'm like, perfect. One less fucking meeting that I have to attend. So there are good use cases for AI. And I found that over the course of time, that if you brand yourself as a specialist, as being super strong in this one thing, and AI comes around and replaces you, then what other value do you bring to the organization? Right? I've taken a step back and looked at the course of my career. And the reason I've done that is because I am a manager and I do lead a significant team. And I always tell my story because everybody has a story to tell. And some people just kind of roll their eyes. You may be rolling your eyes now and like, oh, Jesus, here we go. We're going to listen to this shit again. But I've always been the guy to be able to execute on stuff because I really don't care about the technology anymore. I don't. There's people, you have your Mac people, you have your Windows people, you have your Linux people, right? You have your laptop people, you have your Android, you have your iPhone people. I really don't give a shit because I played with it all. I don't care. I just want to deploy a solution that's going to make you money. So when companies are looking at AI and they're like, well, why can I keep my whole team when I can just buy a tool, right? Like Copilot Studio, Azure OpenAI, Foundry, Bedrock, Vertex AI. There's like 1,000 different tools out there. More and more people like, shit, AI is going to take my job. Yeah, maybe. It also depends on what value you bring to the company. It matters what you do for the company. So those soft skills that you neglected to build up because you're like, I'm just a techie, I'm going to do that. Well, shit, dude. You're the one that fell behind. Technology didn't fall behind. You fell behind because you didn't see the writing on the wall with AI. And everybody in their mother, when generative AI came out, they're like, oh, you're stealing artwork. Yeah, you're stealing artwork. Yes. But every good company has stolen something from somebody else. Microsoft, Google. I'm sorry. They acquired the company. They acquired the assets and the intellectual property of that company. So, it's rightfully theirs. No, some of them stole it. Right? They stole it. So it's one of those things where if you've not taken the time to really build up your foundational skills on those soft skills, right? Being able to talk to people, being able to translate big, complex technical problems into ones that are consumable by business people, then AI is going to do that for you. AI is going to do that for you. And if you don't agree with me, look at the landscape of where we're going. I remember when no-code development came out and business analysts were putting together workflows and things like that. That's like machine learning, right? And it was simple stuff. Oh, I can build this, I can update, improve this business process by doing this and this and this, right? I think that's why SAP or Salesforce, right? Those two companies, they built a big model out of that. These companies are just, pushing out code, no code stuff, solutions. So the everyday business user can do what they need to do without IT. And I hear that internally in my current organization. Oh, they're gonna need us. They're not gonna, they're not gonna replace us with AI. Okay, sure. I'm not gonna use AI. I'm not gonna have AI restart a server for me. Okay, sure. So do that. You continue going that, and I'll build something that'll make you obsolete. It's people like me that will make you obsolete. Right? Because I have that insight to say, all right, you don't want to learn. I'm going to figure it out myself with AI and make myself look better. That's the reality of things. Look, it's a constant battle within the industry against everybody. You against everybody, right? It's you against everybody. Because the algorithm's going to say, well, I can do this better than 5 people. So let me do it. I'm talking about agentic AI, right? To the point where agents are going to talk to each other and things like that. Sorry, we call them digital employees now, digital workers, right? So those guys are going to talk to each other, these digital workers, and say, "Oh, I can do that. Oh, you're doing this. Why can't? Well, no, boom, 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 boom. Let's do that." So it's not about the technical skills anymore. It's not. And although businesses haven't caught up to that, I think more and more people that are thought leaders are realizing that with the changing landscape of AI, you have to provide human judgment to be able to navigate the chaos within the environment today. People aren't going away, right? People aren't going away. People are going to still be needed to work alongside these digital employees, right? And do great things. I was talking to a colleague today and saying, I use Claude, I use ChatGPT. I seldom use it, but I also use Gemini. And I honestly feel like I'm working with a bunch of consultants. I'm the one that's coming up with the ideas. I'm the one that's I wouldn't say flushing it out, but entering in enough information to whatchamacallit, to make the AI do something. And I'm the one that defined the instructions in the AI to challenge my original thoughts. And if you haven't learned by 2025 that you can, quote unquote, train the AI to not just agree with you, then you're really missing out on the point of this whole thing. Right? Because it can be a collaborative partner with you in this race for relevancy. That's the word I was looking for, relevancy. So don't feel like AI is going to replace you. You should only feel that way if you're not strong enough in some of those other skill sets that I was talking about. Right? So you should be using AI on a daily basis. You should be. A lot of this is free. A lot of it's $20 a month. Right? So you should be doing it on a daily basis and ensure that you learn how to leverage it for more and more efficient work. And this is coming from an old guy, right? I'm approaching 49. I'm going to be 50 at the end of next year. And in IT, that's a number that doesn't inspire confidence. It doesn't. It doesn't inspire confidence. First of all, I'm super expensive. And secondly, right off the bat, they feel like I'm not going to embrace this newer technology. When in actuality, I got into technology because it was constantly changing. It was an industry that I knew I wasn't going to be stagnant. I was always going to learn something new. Now, it may take me a little bit longer now to learn something new, but I don't need to learn as quickly as a 20-something-year-old because I have AI to do the shit that I wanted to do. Here's the difference between me and a 20-something-year-old. I can articulate to AI what I want a lot more cleaner than somebody who's in their 20s that kind of knows what they want, but they don't know how to translate it into business speak and maybe deliver something from a corporate mindset. And that's pretty much the gist of it. I can translate my instructions into something where a 20 something may not be able to, and maybe it takes them a little bit longer to get something more polished out. Or if that 20 something is really skilled, they could just ask AI to do it for them in that tone. But, and here's the big but, they may not know whether it's relevant or not. So again, sometimes experience is going to win over youth and knowledge sometimes. Right. So that's one of the things that I look at when I go through this stuff and think about things. Right. I try to stay up with the latest trends, and sometimes that's even proving to be more challenging because it's constantly changing. And I always tell, like, even my junior person who I have my one-on-ones with, I was like, look, you're way smarter than me. Like, sure, I got, I have a bachelor's, I have 2 masters, I have a boatload of certifications. So from a technical capacity, right, they're smarter than me because they can absorb more information at this point. They could probably execute on things that I can't, right? But I can leverage AI to do the same thing because I can leverage AI as a digital employee, right? This is kind of like, so, it is what it is. Like, it's kind of like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, how I can position this in a way that as you grow older in this industry, how you can remain relevant, because it's not easy. It's not easy. And for me, I feel like after the last couple of layoffs that happened in my organization, I feel like they sprinkled some 30 somethings, some 20 somethings in there, and they say, oh, it wasn't just people over 45 that we were letting go. But in actuality, if you look at it, most of them were over 50, right? So it's kind of like, all right, here we go. I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready. So what do I need to do now to pivot and to ensure that I am going to remain employed? Do I stay here? Do I look at somewhere else? Do I continue learning something in the cloud? Right? I don't know. I don't know. It's something that we need to figure out and get together. So one thing that I've been thinking about more and more is this corporate grind. Right? Sometimes we have to figure out whether or not we want to continue in this corporate grind or branch out on our own. And even branching out on your own is not easy. And you'll see these TikTok people say, oh, I love corporate America, blah, 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 blah. I found one. She was like, she talks about, corporate jargon that she doesn't miss. She's a woman, 55 years old, 25 years in corporate IT. And she's like, these are corporate jargons I don't miss anymore. And things like that. And I'm like, why are you talking about this? Because we still use it, right? Like, it's like, just because you don't use it, maybe you will again. Like, people are trying to make a niche for themselves, and that's what I'm actually trying to do. Right? I'm trying to do the same thing. I'll get to that in a little bit. So what I want to do with this show, as always, right, is pull the curtains behind what goes on IT departments. I don't put any company names in there. I've interviewed a couple of people over the course of these 10 years. I'm not trying to burn bridges, right? So I just kind of want to paint a picture. So in my current organization, there's layoffs twice a year, like clockwork every 6 months, for the past 5 years, maybe 6 years, something like that at this point. Organizations change, departments, merge, split, rebranded. And they figure out who they report to this week. Leadership can't commit to strategy for more than a quarter, and teams are drowning in uncertainty. The CEO is super worried about falling behind in AI, and just recently he put together a team of managing directors across the organization and was pissed off because in 23 we were leaders at the forefront of generative AI, and now in 25 we're falling behind on agentic AI. And then my boss was telling me this, and I was laughing in the back of my head. I'm like, it's because you laid off a quarter of the people that were working on that generative AI project, those thought leaders. They kind of all were let go, or some of them left because you let go a lot of people, right? Two of the most talented people in the organization that were spearheading all of the AI stuff in our company left to start something new because they're that good. Right? So we came up with this AI assistant, and we have to come up with some agentic AI by the end of the year. And it's October. So this insanity of corporate IT, it's insane. And from the outside, it looks clean, structured, stable. But on the inside, it's chaos, man. It's chaos. And those of us holding it together, we're not execs in the boardroom, right? It's us. It's the sysadmins, the engineers, mid-level managers grinding it out, keeping the lights on while everything around us shifts. We're working with those app developers who, on the flip side, are just as challenged and struggling because they don't have a clear vision. So collectively as a whole, between the developers, the database people, the cloud people, and everybody else, we're just partnering up together to really get shit done. This is why I keep doing the show. A lot of times these stories don't get told, and I always like to tell these stories. I try to save, the names to protect the innocent. And I say protect the innocent. So I'm going to continue doing this show. I'll try to do it more consistently because I think now it's going back to audio. It's going to be a little bit easier for me to do this more consistently. Look, I started doing this on my Olympus recorder. I actually still have it. It's right here on my desk. I went to a Zoom handheld recorder because that was all the rage, and it was actually good. It sounded better. And then I, had a Sennheiser speaker microphone on my iPhone. And now I'm using a Sennheiser digital hand mic on my PC because it's easier for me. Right. So the ITXP was an experiment, right? And it actually helped me not to define, but help me understand how to build a brand. So what I said was I'm trying to figure out what my next move is. Right. So I've been working on a new brand. Mind you, I have my MBA. And I was really technical, just focusing on the tech stuff. In the back of my mind, I was like, I really want to build this brand, the ITXP. It's really, really helped me learn a lot, not just in this podcast space, but in the marketing and branding space. And then I felt I needed to do something new that wasn't as niche as the ITXP. I want to do something that broadened my horizons into an area that I still knew well, and I know well, but something that could expand the audience a little bit bigger. So I started Corporate Hardcore. And I created Corporate Hardcore because I realized something. I realized that in order to extend my career, I needed to stay relevant and to say things that maybe I can't always say in the confines of the ITXP. So while the ITXP has always been about truth in IT, Corporate Hardcore is where I try to bring a little bit of absurdity, humor, surrealism to highlight just how bizarre corporate life really is. So think of it as a cousin to the ITXP. The ITXP gives you the grounded reality of IT. Corporate Hardcore gives you the satirical lens. And together they cover both sides of the truth. And honestly, it's become a creative outlet for me. It's fun. It's actually freeing. And something I really hope to grow into a real brand, one that's not only entertaining, but also teaches. And I think that's been the core of my authentic self. I talked about being my authentic self a few times. So if I can teach you something through absurdity and humor, my job is done. And at the end of the day, I don't want to just sit in back-to-back meetings until retirement. I want to speak out. I want to share insights, maybe with some high school kids, college kids, early career professionals, people who are stepping into this messy thing we call corporate America. If I can help them navigate and avoid some of the pitfalls that I went through, maybe even laugh along the way, then I'll feel like I've done something worthwhile maybe get some speaking engagements, become a public speaker. Right? You all know if you've been listening long enough, you all might know my experience with Toastmasters. So I think corporate hardcore is going to be my way of building that bridge. I started with the trademark already. I have my TikTok site at Corp Hardcore or corporatehardcore.com, corphardcore.com. It's not up yet, but everything's been registered. I wanted to start with TikTok. I do have X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. But those sites aren't ready yet because I'm trying to build that audience through TikTok. So if you can follow at Corp Hardcore on TikTok, I appreciate it. Continue following the ITXP at the _IT_XP. And I repost stuff from Corp Hardcore anyway. It'd be nice to have a growing audience for Corp Hardcore. It's not going to be a podcast. It's not going to be a show. It's just going to be a satirical video or videos using AI to generate them. I would say a combination of AI and Adobe Premiere. Excuse me. I kind of splice and dice things together. I use a combination of ChatGPT for a bulk of the images, Runway ML to create the animations, 11 Labs for cloning my voice. And I post those on TikTok. It's like 20, 30-second videos, nothing too long. Just really want to build the brand before expanding it out into any longer content. Runway ML has this new feature. I think it's called First Act or Second Act, something like that, where it can actually mimic my face. So I think I'm going to start using that to really build more longer animations because it's going to give me that ability to do that. And maybe it's a way to help me refine my comedic ability that I may or may not have. I don't know. Look, I'm a big student of comedy. I enjoy it so much. And I'll probably see or maybe observe more comedians for inspirational leaders or something like a business leader, because I think storytelling is something that's a skill that is very, very challenging. And if you can make people laugh while you're telling a story, that's even more challenging. But if you can accomplish that, boom, Bob's your uncle. So here's where we're at. The ITXP is back to basics, audio only, just you and I. The IT job market is tough. It's bleak in some ways, and AI isn't making it easier. Turning 50 in IT is a challenge. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to kick you in the ass. When I started this, I was 39, 38, 39. So I've seen some stuff. Inside IT departments, it's total chaos designed to disguise the structure. And for me personally, corporate hardcore is my new path that I'm building alongside this podcast. I've always wanted to hear from you. Nobody's reached out to me. The only people who reach out to me are the people that want me to interview other people, which is fine. And again, I just did 2 interviews. But if you want to talk to me, reach out to me. If you're going to come be on my show, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. What's your experience been like this year? Are you seeing layoffs? Are you worried about AI? Are you feeling the squeeze of age in this industry? Just reach out to me. Share your story. The show is as much about you as it is about me. I'm the only one talking so far. So take that leap. Come join me. I've always said that's why I did this show, right? I want to hear people's stories. I want to kind of tell the truth in terms of what IT is. Right? IT is a platform. The platform for you. You can do the same exact thing. You start up your own podcast or whatever, right? Call it IT WP or whatever and tell your own story. But if you feel like you're not ready yet, reach out to me. We'll talk. We'll have a conversation. And, we'll see what happens next. I don't know in terms of what the next episode is. I'm still thinking about topics, but it's not going to be another deep dive into specific technologies, but it'll be a deep dive into the reality of IT. Again, not a polished version, right? This wasn't polished. I'm not a polished guy, no hype, but the truth. So thanks to everyone that stuck around. Thanks for coming back. And as always, keep pushing, keep learning, keep surviving in this world of IT. Thank you.